Greetings, YouTube. This is part 4 of the Bay Area Grand Epic, which I wrote in 2022 with Christoph and Marshall. I'm going to go ahead and start reading from my trip report now, which is also linked in the description below. Here we go. We head north again on Peters Creek Trail, which takes us out of the canopy and back onto the open grasslands again. We climb gradually up the Chestnut Trail. Casanita Ridge Road marks the boundary between Long Ridge south and Skyline Ridge to the north. Crossing this road, we enter Skyline Ridge Preserve, 2,144 acres. The single track is now a gravel road, and we climb gradually up a small hill before descending briefly west around Horseshoe Lake. In the shade on the south side of the lake is a stump from a tree that was cut on the side of the road. I remember this stump from another trip on this same road a few years ago. During that trip, I found a sizable flush of honey fungus growing off this stump. Honey fungus is a plant pathogen that is parasitic in ecology. However, it can and still will eat on a host after it's killed it, making it facultative saprophytic as well. This mushroom is edible in choice and a delicacy in many mushroom-loving countries such as Russia, Poland, and Ukraine. Ironically, it is illegal to collect and eat mushrooms in the open space preserves. Even the fungi that kill trees are strictly forbidden from being collected for subsistence. The forest is dry during our journey and the fungi are not fruiting. The geese are goosing on Horseshoe Lake. Christoph stops at the bridge that crosses the outlet for the lake to take a photo. Before we begin a steep and punchy hill, Marshall is the only one spinning a crank at this point. Christoph and I hike a bike because after a certain amount of climbing, steep hills requires more wattage and higher heartbeat than we're willing to put out at this point. Hitting a false summit, we continue our climb. A mountain biker on a day trip passes us. I smell his freshly applied deodorant on his relatively clean body. I know our trio must reek from the pasty salt sweat that covers our body this late in the day. We are now tired enough to get easily past. The topo shows this climb at about 500 feet of gains, and it feels more than that. Soon we reach.
So we found ourselves on one last ass kicker of a climb before the next climb.
Reach the apex of the hill, hot from the late day sun, and quickly descend. The road turns to pavement briefly before switching to single track. We head east, out onto the road system again. To the north is Russian Ridge Preserve, 3,491 acres. We pass the parking lot for this preserve right before crossing Highway 35 and beginning our descent on Page Mill Road. Chapter 3, Black Mountain and Beyond. This short paved descent, smooth like butter, the brief reprieve from bump trail vibration is wonderful. The oak trees arch tunnels over the road in spots, and the cool air feels light on the skin. After about 1 mile, we exit the road and head southeast on Upper White Oak Trail. We are approaching our last big peak for the day, Black Mountain, which rises high above the land which surrounds it. Montbello Open Space Preserve, 3,133 acres. The trail system is well maintained, and we make quick time on the smooth gravel. Onward to Canyon Trail, we descend for just a bit due south. We stop in the shade next to Bella Vista Trail before our final ascent of Black Mountain. Everyone eats more food and drinks more water. I drink my last strawberry milk, 23 grams of protein, and 39 grams of sugar.
We made it to the summit! Woo! Oh. 5:38 p.m., 10 hours, 14 minutes, 87.4 miles. On your left side. GoPro, stop recording. Woo!
I'm so thankful they didn't make us go up this.
Yeah, me too. Go ahead, you guys lead it. I'll film.
Okay, you go ahead. Yeah, this is brutal as a climb.
I know, it's so great. It is a descent. Oh, I'm having a wonderful time going down this.
We ride down the steep gravel road, which makes Indian Creek Trail. And the metal bits and the brake pads squeak away on the descent. After dropping about 1,000 feet in elevation and about 2 miles, we head due south on Canyon Trail. It's bumpy, loose gravel, and we like it on the downhill. Below 1,400 feet, the ecology changes, and we enter Upper Stevens Creek Preserve once again, this time on its eastern boundary. It is lush green on the trail built next to the creek, and the road and the trail have more cobbles from the ancient depositional environment of a historic stream bed, which in ancient times must have raged down this canyon during flood events. We cross Stevens Creek. Everybody hikes their bikes across the stream, an ode to our growing fatigue. We talk about stopping for water one last time, then keep on biking. Soon we cross a sign that lets us know we are leaving Palo Alto County, and shortly after that we transition onto Stevens Canyon Road. It is smooth like butter after the gravel we have left behind us. I tuck forward to reduce the drag to get as much efficiency on the descent as possible. Marshall sits up tall and stretches and shakes out his arms and falls behind, catching the air like a broken sail. Christoph leads. We drop from 1,000 feet elevation to 600 feet elevation before turning east on Stevens Canyon Road. We choose to skip the last option for a water refill and quickly spin around the Stevens Creek Reservoir. This reservoir is pre-World War II with a construction date of 1935. It looks big and yet only has a surface of 92 acres. Past the lake, we take a right and head south into Stevens Creek County Park, 1,063 acres. The gate is still open. We roll past the Chestnut parking area. The road becomes gravel, curves and turns west, and drops in gradient gradually into a creek-carved canyon. At the intersection of Tony Look Trail and Coyote Ridge Trail, we take
We
a
just
short
had our
break
100-mile snack,
for the next climb.
and we're
The
gonna
100-mile snack break.
do another
I
climb.
eat some peanut butter and it tastes like creamy energy,
I'm
and
gonna
I
start
love
by
it.
hiking, 'cause
With
that's
less
just
than
what I
10
do.
miles to go, we should have this ride in the bag. And we're on the margin. Any mechanical issue would result in us being in the preserve after dusk, which is strictly prohibited by the land manager. I lead the way up Hayfield Trail, heading south again, hiking my bike again. I'm not sure if we can finish this last loop
We
before
are
the
in Fremont
sunset
Older,
and the darkness
Open Space
returns.
Preserve.
Slow, steady hope is all that's left.
Mountain lion habitat.
At this point in the ride, we are all quite tired and just grinding through the last handful of miles. Halfway up the last big climb, we officially cross into our last new park of the trip, Fremont Older Preserve, 339 acres. Soon we hit the ridgeline and turn west and ride toward Knob Hill, elevation 1,138 feet. Its ridgeline rollers to the base of Knob Hill, and when we arrive, we regroup before turning onto our next trail. Christoph jokingly says we could climb it if we want to, and we all laugh because at this point we've climbed more than 13,500 feet, and no one is interested in any extra climbing. Tanyan Trail becomes flowy single track as it curves and takes us northwest. Soon we turn onto a gravel road, a field trail, and climb toward Hunter's Point.
Got it.
The sun is starting to set as we arrive, and we start a slow loop on the flowy Seven Springs Loop Trail. We drop about 200 feet and slowly climb out of the drainage. Small songbirds sing their nightly songs in the oak trees. The shady oak forest is dense and comforting in the evening light. And at the end of the climb, we descend a gravel road a few hundred yards and stop at the Clara Older Trail. We are back in open grassland now, and the last wedge of the sun is making its way below the horizon, its photons creating a red glow and cumulus clouds that sit over the mountains to the west. Christoph takes a photograph and leads our fast descent to Prospect Road. Here we all put on our red flashing lights as dusk settles in. Christoph guides us through the urban corridor using his bike computer. I assume we're all done with gravel, and about 1 mile later we hop on another gravel trail that follows a railroad line. Railroad grade is 0% plus or minus 1%. After 14,000 feet of climbing, spinning spokes on flat gravel requires less water than my legs have become accustomed to on this epic ride. We transition onto Cox Avenue and take the paved bike lane deeper into Saratoga. We cross an overpass over Highway 85, and the lanes are surprisingly clear of traffic. Turning onto Saratoga Avenue, we focus on urban riding as we pedal the last few blocks into REI parking lot. A siren from a random ambulance blasts as we pull into the shopping center, a normal aspect of urban life. The lights for the parking lot are on again, like they were before we began our quest in the dark hours of the morning. My heart is heavy with emotions as we collectively finish this grand epic ride. 107 miles, 14,200 feet of climbing. It's a new record for each of us. We fist bump in celebration. I sync Strava like the data nerd I am, and it reports 109 miles. Christoph pulls a cooler out of the back of his green Subaru and asks if we want a beer. F yeah, I say. Marshall laughs, and we toast in celebration of the completion of this journey. The beer is bitter, cold, and full of carbohydrates, liquid energy which my body loves. I open my cooler, drink a 4-ounce Tupperware of 2% milk, then hand out sparkling water to my companions. It's late for us anyway. 7:15 p.m. and we're all so tired. We each just want to rest, so we rack our bikes on our respective motor vehicles and drive home back to our normal lives. Epilogue. What excites me most about the grand epic route done on a bike is the sheer volume of parks a traveler can see in a single day of riding. It is an incredible combination of roads and trails that link all these preserves together. Riding with Marshall and Christoph allowed us to share this grand experience as bikers and friends, and I'm grateful for their willingness to try something so crazy with me and further cultivate our local cycling community. From a conservation perspective, this trip fueled my passion for environmental advocacy. I hope that other folks will visit these places and choose an active role in trying to protect and maintain them long term. The Santa Cruz Mountains and the human civilization that has evolved around them hold a vast amount of knowledge worth learning about in the areas of history, geology, ecology, mycology, and environmental philosophy. Through the eyes of a traveler passing through the landscape, these places became my classroom. The more I learn, the more I question my tendencies toward an anthropocentric worldview. I hope other visitors will take time to think about their sense of place while exploring nature. I hope that future travelers connect with these places and work to protect them. And I hope that more everyday people step out of their comfort zone and try something crazy, like a big epic bike ride.